welcome back to the Chappie and Bengals podcast. It is Monday, March 10th. It's a beautiful day today, Chappie. You want to know why? Because it's NFL free agency, buddy.
Hey.
And the phone's been going nuts today. Not only that, but the weather outside's been beautiful as well.
Mm-hmm.
So all in all, pretty nice day. We finally got some sunshine, a little
Beautiful
bit of
day in
warmth.
March. Yeah.
Down here in the old Great White North, Canada.
Down here.
So what better than to get a little bit of sunshine and for NFL free agency to start kicking off? We got a lot to talk about, a lot of big moves happening. I want to get your thoughts on some of these moves, and we'll kind of talk about the potential of what they mean for some of these teams, some of these players. But, Chappie, how you doing, man? What are your immediate thoughts here on NFL free agency so far?
I love it. I think it's awesome because it's just like I feel like it's the only league where truly a league can flip on its head in an instant and actually have like ramifications and just huge changeover. And honestly, anybody whose team is out there, you can have a shit team turn into something like that very quickly with just a couple big signings. And yeah, no, I loved all the news so far, and we'll get into it. But no, this was a fun day so far. I'm just at work and I'm scrolling through Twitter at different points, going, "Oh shit, look at that! Yeah. Oh wow, big signing! Oh wow, extensions! Oh wow, yeah,
hell yeah, I love that stuff." And I don't know, it's the beauty of the NFL because there's so many different positions and what it means and the altercations with it. It's just crazy to see all the movement within the sport. And it's awesome, man. It's awesome. We love football. We love the moving pieces, but let's dive into kind of...
You know what really moved the needle for me?
What?
Nothing gets me more excited than seeing Zach Wilson sign with the Dolphins.
I think that's the only free agent move that the Dolphins have made.
That's
so
the
far
only
too,
one. That's
which
the
is
only
pretty
one.
hilarious.
That's nuts.
There's a handful of teams that have done like one thing or nothing, and they're one of them. Wild for the Dolphins fans out there. But let's get into some of the bigger headlines. Sorry, Zach Wilson. Amongst free agency here, and I think the big ones to kind of kick off free agency as a whole was the contract signings by Max Crosby to the Las Vegas Raiders, how he broke the bank. And then it was the whole Myles Garrett thing and how he signed in Cleveland and he broke the bank as well. So defensive ends here getting paid right off the bat.
As they should.
Yeah, great players. We know how important defensive ends are. Pass rushers. But let's kind of get the thoughts here on number one. We know Max Crosby. He was a little bit frustrated based on, previous year's finish and things like that. But I think with the direction they're going in, and I had to tell Val this too, was like, you got Tom Brady in the building now. You got the right people in there to kind of get this organization going in the right direction, I think.
Yeah.
And that starts with locking up the guy that is the face of your franchise, the guy that essentially makes that team go. He is the personality that you need in the locker room. He's the guy that you need on that squad. And I think that was an easy thing for them to do. So what are your initial thoughts on Max?
Yeah, no, I think when we were talking about it, especially mid-season last year, and you're looking at the Detroit situation and what happened there, and then all the talk about, hey, you're going to make a move for Max Crosby, and that never came to fruition, you kind of start getting an idea that there was going to be a future there with the Raiders. And just from that point forward, it makes sense, and I know Brady's a big character person. He judges people exactly, on their work ethic and what they're about. And obviously they found something that they liked in Crosby. So not shocked at all by it, but not shocked overall about the money as well. Like these guys are getting their pay and they're earned all the way through this. So it's well earned based on everything they've done so far in their career.
Man, see, I'm looking at the money now and I'm like, fuck, like where are we at? Like, how do we keep up with this?
Well, you gotta pay your defensive end. You gotta pay a guy big money to make those stops. And it's such an important role.
It's a very important role. Like there's key positions, and we always hear the narrative about how Belichick talks about like Lawrence Taylor and and what that means and how disrupting an offensive game plan is huge, right? It's huge. So you pay those guys that can disrupt those game plans.
Yeah.
And Max Crosby is one of them. I think now it's just looking at the total money these guys are making, and to me it just seems like that has elevated so much over the course of the last like 5 years even, right? And I know that just the world as a whole and COVID, and the way that this world has gone with inflation and everything, I think that has, a big hand in what's going on. But some of the contractual values here, to me, are just crazy. They're crazy.
Oh, yeah.
So it's hard to kind of comprehend with the salary cap going up, like, what is the dollar going to look like 10 years from now? Like,
no,
what are
there's
these guys
going to be
making?
Whether or not it's in this league or it's another league, someone's going to be making a bill. Like, especially in the MLB with how that's trending right now. Like, there's these guys and just how the money in the markets are moving. Like, and that's absurd. That's absurd.
It is absurd
money. Like, it's just like, if you think about that, even in the, like, a home, right? Like, what do you need in life? The home over your head. People can't afford a home, right? Now you're going to translate that to how much money these guys are fucking making. Like, how many homes are you going to fucking buy with that money? Like, seriously. Yeah. And it's a lavish lifestyle now because of it. But, like, holy shit, just unbelievable amount of money. Like,
well,
and
these guys
good.
are
Like,
shooting...
hey, that's what it is. It's an entertainment product, and these guys are fucking entertaining. That's why we have this. That's why we have shows that we love to watch. That's why we come back to it. So
it's a massive
it's
industry,
a value,
right?
and it's there, and it's an industry that thrives on it. So fuck it, get paid, enjoy it. You earned it.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's just crazy to see some of the contract values now, and like you said, like
they're nuts.
$1 billion. That's not far out of range here. And just looking at like what the value of a dollar is 10 years from now to me is it's kind of wicked right now, especially with the sports stuff. But so Max Crosby, well deserved. Raiders. Let's talk about kind of a little bit of the direction the Raiders going in here, because they've made a few signings. We can stay here. They've been relevant. First, Geno Smith traded from Seattle to Vegas. And all they did was trade a 3rd-round pick here. What do you think about that trade and the implications from not only team perspective, but fantasy potential for maybe one Brock Bowers and the pieces that they have there?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think their game plan is? What are the Raiders trying to do?
Well, if we took anything from Brock Bowers' rookie season, is that he thrived, getting the ball. And I think an accurate quarterback is only going to help that get even to the next level. So 100% if you're looking next year and any type of redraft, I'm definitely eyeing Brock Bowers early next year as a big pickup. And I just think that moves the needles in a lot of ways for him. But just in general, I think Geno, it's the right time, and definitely a better situation than what they had going on there a million times over. So we'll kind of see.
I look at it and I'm like, well, it's kind of funny because Seattle's just selling everybody right now.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen the meme where it's like Jackson Smith and Jigba's just like looking around like, what the fuck just happened to my team?
Well, they made a move after that. We'll get into it.
Yes, we will. We'll get into that too. But with Geno, I look at it and I'm like, hey, the Raiders are in a tough spot, right? They're going into the draft. They have what are they? Top 10 pick at least here. You look at the quarterbacks. Yeah, going into the draft, not great. Don't even know if you're going to get one fall to you. Do you want to put your stock into Shadur Sanders? Don't love him. Doesn't look like he's going to be the guy necessarily. It's right out the gate, even potentially down the line. Who knows? Yeah. Then you look at the free agency class. It's like, all right, what do we have here? I think the big thing that was probably the best part about this deal for the Raiders was they didn't have to sign him to a long-term contract.
Yeah.
So now they get Geno Smith for a year as a potential bridge quarterback, and if he works well, boom, you sign him, right?
Yeah.
So I think that was probably the best case scenario that Raiders fans could potentially ask for, given the market and everything that's going on too, right?
Yeah.
So I definitely like the move. Good start there. And then they've added a few other pieces here as well, but it'd be interesting to see because I've seen a lot of mocks
all on
where
defense,
they're
really,
taking,
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Some of those other guys, and they lost a few players today too. But at the same time, I've seen mocks with, Ashton Genty, round one, Raiders going after a running back. Potentially trying to replicate some Marshawn Lynch-esque with Pete Carroll here, get the running game going again. But this is where I'm like, okay, what are they trying to do here now? They still need, a receiver. They do need a running back. These are different pieces that we're going to be watching
They
for.
definitely need a running back. Yeah.
I like the way the Raiders are going there for sure. And then I want to bounce back over to that. The other guy who broke the bank, Mr. Myles Garrett. This one was controversial because of the fact that he wanted to win, Chappie. He wanted to win, and he was pounding fists on the table because he wanted to go to an organization that wanted to win. But when you drop a bag,
what's $123 million to you?
I think winning probably goes out the door for you.
Yeah.
But the other question on the other side of that is, what the fuck are the Cleveland Browns doing? And I mean, every year I ask the same question, but let me dish that one to you to start.
Yeah.
What the fuck are the Cleveland Browns doing?
I wish I had a good answer. I wish I had a good idea of what the direction was. I haven't known what the direction of this team is or was since they drafted 17 quarterbacks in, a 4-year span. Like I genuinely have no idea what the plan is or has been. They had a little spurt where they're actually kind of, getting to that like 500 level, and you're like, oh, maybe there's something here. Good defense will get you a long way. Yeah, no, man, I have no idea. And Cleveland fans, I have no idea what's going on. I don't know. Maybe you can drop us a comment as well on this.
Tell me the direction of
see what we're doing here. It's like, obviously Myles Garrett is awesome, but yeah, when it comes down to it, we got Kenny Pickett as well, like Super Bowl champ Kenny Pickett. We're running real good here now.
Directionally, like, this was the time, man. This was the time to be like, all right, we can package our one asset that holds a lot of value and go and get something for that and start this rebuild. Like, you got Deshaun Watson's contract coming off the fucking double torn Achilles here. Probably not playing the entire year for you. Play. His cap hits fucking ridiculous already.
Yep.
And the rest of your team needs a shit ton of work too. You got Nick Chubb, who's clearly on the back end of his career. Who knows what he's doing?
Yeah.
He's probably not going to be back.
Workhorse, we love Nick Chubb. I know Cleveland loves Nick Chubb, but that guy, literally, I'm the most impressed out of any fucking player in the league is Nick Chubb, because I don't know how you go through the fucking injuries that guy has on your legs as a running back and come out of that still doing his thing. So that's crazy to watch, but you gotta have an understanding of what that means, and going forward what that's gonna be. Like I just don't wish the best, and obviously hope that comes around. But then again, questions everything thereafter. Like, what are we doing? Like, what's going on here?
What is the plan here?
Yeah.
Like, what are you just gonna? Okay,
like
so you're
Jerry had a nice coming out party, but I don't know.
That was like a stretch of games where it didn't even matter, though, right?
Yeah,
like
it was just garbage time. That one game,
garbage time.
With, what's
he was
going
a
on?
Revenge game against the Broncos. Like,
exactly.
We get that, and Jerry's a decent receiver in this league. I get that, but beyond that, and yes, you have a good head coach with functional pieces around, but you don't have a quarterback. You just brought in Kenny Pickett. Who's your starter going to be, right? You just traded your other DTR, he's gone. You don't have Jameis Winston. So what's the plan here? Why are you signing a defensive player who's on the back end of his career, might be in his prime? But not only that, they just openly talked about his fucking foot injuries and shit like that he's had going on this past season. And I don't see why you're dishing out all this fucking money to a defender when you should go and get assets and then start this rebuild and try and go find a quarterback. I don't get it, man. But that's Cleveland, man, making irrational moves, and that's why they've been Cleveland, the armpit of the NFL for the last 30 years. So I don't know what to tell you. Just
shout out Cleveland fans.
Yeah,
like, what's for you?
It's as sad as the Bengals organization is. This This is
Well, I was gonna
worse.
say you got a defensive player that's getting paid, pretty key part of your franchise right now at the tail end of their career. So just gotta flip that one back to you about one Trey
Yeah,
Hendrickson. What do we like? Same kind of deal. Like you pay the guy, or
because
do you go out and get something for him?
well, I think the difference in situations here is the fact that they also have to sign two receivers to
Other
massive
players,
contracts,
yeah,
right? And
yep,
I understand the difficulty that comes with that, but at the same time, you can't lose a guy like Trey Hendrickson.
no,
But you just look at the contracts that Max Crosby and Myles Garrett just signed.
yeah,
I look at Trey Hendrickson and I go, I'm not paying you $35 million a
that's
year.
right.
Like,
Yeah,
I'm not fucking doing that.
that's
But
why I ask it.
now you look at this and it's like, okay, so they're talking about trade requests. Like, I think it's as simple as same thing Rams did with Stafford. Like I
Hmm.
was saying on the segment that I was talking Bengals with is go and see what your value is. Is there a team out there that's willing to pay you $35 million? If
Hmm.
so, tell them to pony up a second round pick. We'll float you over there. You get your contract. We'll go from there. But if nobody is sitting there willing to pay your value, then hey, like we're
Yeah,
here ready to give you 30 mil.
yeah,
That's pretty damn good, I'd say.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
So
you're worth it at this point.
I just think it's a leverage play. I don't think people are going to be paying him the contract that he wants. And,
Yeah.
like his agent could have been selling him some magic beans here, thinking that he could go out
Oh,
and
I
find that
guarantee you,
too.
these contracts signed, and he was like, "Oh, we're in it. We're in
Yeah.
it, buddy. We're gonna
Yeah.
make a lot of money." And they
So,
are. Like
yeah, and you
they're
look
definitely
at
gonna
what's
clean
playing
up.
out right now, and the market's drying up for him. Like
Yeah,
people are signing free agent defensive ends right now, and that gap is closing. So this might work out for the Bengals in a sense, right?
yeah.
Are we
Just
still going
gotta
to pay him
go and
money?
get some other pieces
Fuck
there.
yeah.
Like that's the
Yeah,
biggest thing. Is
of
that was
course.
such an important part. But again, we've established that you can't have three pillars on an offense and obviously the defense there and
Yeah.
win collectively as a group sometimes. So like there's a lot of solid parts of the Bengals team all together, but there's a lot of holes that need to
Yeah.
be filled. And
Oh
sometimes
yeah, you gotta
paying
fill them.
that out as a Leaf fan, I'll tell you truthfully and honestly, sometimes paying a core four isn't fucking worth it, and it doesn't come around at any point in time. In NFL, it's a little bit different, but these positions matter. Having nothing on that defensive side of that, not to say nothing, but you gotta. I think we talked about it. It was just the highest paid fucking defensive line in the NFL
Yeah.
last year.
They
So
were the
sometimes these
second highest paid
contracts,
defensive line.
yeah, sometimes these contracts gotta go, and sometimes they gotta get paid with reason. So
But see, this could work out good though. Like I said, like market could, it could come back to us where it's like Trey has well, he's already under contract first and foremost.
yeah.
So like the Bengals could be like, well, I don't give a fuck. Like
Yeah.
you can play on or you can sit
bet
out.
you they will.
But this is the thing. Like we understand too that he has been underpaid and he's performed to the level of at least he's going to get a pay
Absolutely.
upgrade.
Yep.
But now it's like it's that differentiation between what he wants or what he thinks he should get and what we can willingly pay him, and it's just bridging that gap. But at the same time, like the biggest problem with Cincinnati is the fact that they don't know how to give you upfront money, which is holding them back, and they're essentially like the guy that tries to time the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just biting them in the ass. It's like you could have signed these guys a year or two ago to big 3-4 year contracts and had this solidified with the cap going up this year and plenty of like now these guys have all had career years and you're fucked.
Yeah.
And that's what you get for doing that kind of business. So, and do I give a fuck? Absolutely not. Like it's I've seen it my entire life and it's just playing out twofold. The difference is now you have a quarterback that's not really going to stand for this shit. So
Yeah.
in my lifetime, I could see 2 first overall picks, want them to be traded out of Cincinnati because of how pathetic this front office is. So I'm a little anxious about that, but we're going to see how that one plays
I could
out.
hear the sigh. If anyone's playing this on the pod right now, dial that back and just listen to that sigh. Listen to that, just like
We're the fucking Oakland A's of the NFL, dude.
you're
We
not
are the
wrong.
Oakland A's of the NFL. I think
Yeah.
the sad thing is like
Hopefully, you don't move. Well, yeah.
I'm as a fan, man, like you invest so much time and effort into these things and you want your team to go out there and try and do everything they can to win.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm sitting there and I'm like, what the fuck? What why do I drive 8 hours to go watch these idiots play when this front office doesn't give a
Listen,
fuck, man?
the players aren't. The fucking front office could use a book or two and read up on some shit.
Yes,
for
no
sure.
shit, man. It's depressing. It's depressing watching a sports team do that, but we'll see how that plays out down the line. But some other stuff I wanted to kind of touch on. We got a few teams here, NFC wise. Seems like they're doing a lot. You got Commanders first and foremost. We already talked about the Debo trade.
Yep.
Then you got the Bears going all in on their offensive line right now, which I don't blame.
Makes a lot of
their
sense.
new coach,
Yeah.
Ben Johnson, going in there and fixing that O-line because he just came from a team that had a stud
You have
O-line
to. Yeah.
and they knew how to run the ball.
Talk
right?
about all the best teams in the league. What do they have? Guaranteed. Every
Offensive
single
line.
team. Offensive line. When we talk about
Exactly.
Philly, offensive line. Even
Trenches,
Kansas City
man.
can bowl. Like it's
Yeah.
you gotta get it. You gotta get it. And most of the teams that don't win are teams that don't have that. So no, you have
Exactly.
to go out and get that. That it's such a core part. And you just got ripped all last year for having a generational quarterback that was just getting smoked, having to do anything and everything to get the ball out.
Yep.
And like all of a sudden people were like, oh, should have gone with this guy. Like, no, Caleb Williams is absolutely disgusting and will be. Like, don't give up on that. But in order to get him to do what he's capable of doing, you got to protect him. And we
Yeah,
talk, and
gotta
you
give
know
him
this
time.
better than anybody else with the Bengals and Mr.
Oh,
Joey B.
I do.
So
I do.
you got to get that.
You
Or
do. And
you just become Joey B and you throw the ball in like 1.2 seconds and then
Yeah.
it works out either way. But that's not Buddy's skill set.
No. But you know what? Hey, like hats off. Bears went out. They did their thing. They got aggressive. They got a shit ton of guys. First, they traded for Joe Tooney. Same with Jonah Jackson from the Rams. So two guys. They just picked up Drew Dalman, the center, and then they got a couple other guys on the defensive side of the ball. But shoring up that offensive line, man, you already got offensive weapons.
Yeah.
We know that already. You got
Yep.
DJ Moore. You just signed him to that contract extension. You got DeAndre Swift in the backfield. You have Roma Dunze as well. Like, and Cole Kmet, I think he's underrated. Like,
Yeah.
they have good offensive players. Now it's like, okay, give him time to do his thing. And I think Ben Johnson will get this offense going for sure. So definitely a team to look at and invest in potentially from a fantasy side of things.
Yep.
And then the other piece is the Commanders here making a bunch of moves as well. They're really looking to maximize that rookie contract with Jaden Daniels, clearly being, you know, obviously one game away from the Super Bowl last year. So they re-upped on Zach Ertz. They just traded with the Texans today for Laramie Tunsil too, so getting more protection for him. And on the defensive side, they went out and they got Javon Kinlaw on the defensive line, and then they got Bobby Wagner as well, re-signed him to a contract. So they're getting guys too. So these two NFC teams, man, they're going to be some of the sexy teams to look for next season.
Yeah.
So super interesting.
Those are big moves, and I think honestly, like the re-up on Zach Ertz is just a smart call. Like I think that's just going to be something that you fly under the radar, but just it's so
he worked
important
well.
to have that guy.
He worked really well, and you can see Jaden Daniels was he was very comfortable with him.
Yep.
So it's kind of like a safety blanket. So I think that's going to work. But interesting to see how that offense moves this year. It's interesting
What do we
team to
think?
watch.
Just in talk about just teams, and obviously like this one kind of had a part in getting the Philly to the Super Bowl, but Saquon on a 2-year extension on 41.2, because obviously like the whole thing about this guy was, you know, is he worth the money? Is he gonna be valued? Da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
And then just you got to see that, and like Mara's got to be slapping himself, like just seeing all this stuff, and then finally getting paid. Like, do you think that finally moves the needle back in the running back position for contracts?
Yeah, to a degree, but I mean, not everyone's Saquon though either, right?
Yeah.
Like,
What's
that's the
interesting
tough
is it's
thing.
36 million guaranteed, right?
Yeah.
And the initial conversation, I believe, was, you know, is this guy going to get 14? So he's obviously made a little bit more here than that. But I'm just very curious to see what that does for the general running back market in terms of like that's your piece de resistance. That's your highest level of running back that we have in the league right now. So like we're saying that they're worth 20 plus, right? Like I'm curious to see what that does to the rest of the league. I know that Derrick Henry, him, and I can't remember the other one they were in a chat and they were basically like make running backs great again was basically the idea of it. And
which they are. It's dependent on how your team is built, right? Like look at the Lions now. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be disgusting.
Yeah.
Bijan Robinson as well. The way he was playing with Michael Penix, he's going to be disgusting. Like these guys are going to be they're dual threat, dual capable running backs.
Yep.
That are going to be amazing if they're a main focus in their offense. And you look at guys like the Derrick Henrys and stuff. He's a little bit too old to be collecting that much money just, based on what's going on back end of his career. But that's the thing. Saquon's like top of the top. You're talking about a guy that just broke records. You're talking about a guy that just took his team to the Super Bowl and won it.
Yep.
You can't really top that right now. So to say anybody else is going to get more than that, no shot. He's in the prime of his career. He's one of the best running backs we've ever seen play. And I think that's why. And coming off a fucking Super Bowl, of course, you're going to pay your guy. He's been worth everything and more. So that's kind of where that goes, right? It's the same thing with like the Christian McCaffreys. You're going to pay those guys because they do so much. Look at the 49ers without him last year. Different team.
Yep.
So that's those dimensional players. They exist over here in their own little bubble, and that's kind of where it is. I wouldn't say it translates specifically to the position.
Yeah, I'd be curious. I'm just like, definitely that was a big thing. We talked about it last year, and then they went on a tear, and running backs just had almost that like kind of comeback season where it was test the waters and see, and then are these guys worth the money that they get paid, or because they were just really on a deep dive of like what a running back's value is worth over a set period of time. It was only a couple years that really running backs are valued in the league, and then they're kind of thrown to the wolves. So I was just curious to see what your take was on that.
Yeah, I mean he's running behind the best offensive line too. Like there's so many things that contribute to his success.
Yeah,
like it's you take Saquon and you put him on a team that has like a mid like the Bears or something like that. He's not doing what he does. But even the Giants last year, like what he did with that Giants team was fucking remarkable because he was the only person on that team you'd be afraid of.
They talking about those Giants, Tommy Cutlets, baby, Tommy Cutlets. He's back.
So actually, a report came out that a lot of people are avoiding the Giants because of their GM, which, rightfully so. I mean, to me, that seems like a sinking ship.
Did you see or hear that basically Hard Knocks got punted to UNC because of that situation? Holy shit, that is so funny.
How embarrassing is that?
How embarrassing is that? But then that also explains everything. These guys are terrified to now say, hey, come on in. We're gonna break things down for you. And just how viral that clip went and how impactful that is to like decision making, and just like you're out and you're laughing, you're chuckling, haha, no, Saquon's not worth it. And the guy's like, yo, if I see this guy in Philly, I'm gonna lose my mind. And he's like, but it's so funny. I heard on another thing, it was like, he saved himself with that comment. Because technically speaking, he's like, yo, I said it. I did say it. I did say that are we sure that no one else is going to do this? He did a final pulse check. Yeah, didn't work out.
Probably one of the worst decisions I've ever seen.
Yeah.
To let a guy like that walk out the door.
Crazy.
But yeah, I really don't see a lot of success coming from the Giants side of things this year. I think I don't know why they didn't just rip the Band-Aid off right now. Mm-hmm. I really don't know why they didn't, because I think all those guys are out the door next year, and I think this is a complete overhaul of what they're doing, and it's like, I just don't get it. But I can't see a lot of players going to the Giants, man. And I don't know, they might have a hard time getting a quarterback in the draft too, because Tennessee and the Browns might take quarterbacks 1-2 potentially, and then that leaves the Giants kind of high and dry in that position. So I don't know what they're going to do. Be interesting to see there. But some of the other moves, Mr. Sam Darnold from your Minnesota Vikings there, Chappie, I know we were riding the Vikings hard at the end of the season there. Darnold did the
At
old
the end of the season, I
collapse
had that shit running all season long. That was a money
until
line I couldn't stop pressing on.
until
Holy
Darnold
shit.
turned into a pumpkin, and then
Until Pumpkin.
ultimately
Yeah.
his stock tanked a little
Lost
bit.
a
But
little
you know
bit.
what? Let's talk a little bit here about him signing with the Seahawks.
Yeah.
What is Seattle doing? And do you have any inclination to what you feel like they're trying to do with all the moves that they've gone through?
Yeah, I think the Sam Darnold move is actually just a smart one right now. Like, you're gonna replace Gino with a younger situation, right? Like, to say Sam isn't kind of flourished out of last year, yeah, he went full pumpkin mode in that playoff game, 1000%, right? But he also showed a lot of flashes of being really, really smart in the pocket, making good decisions for the majority of the year, right? Like, it helps when you have a couple solid receivers on the end of that, and just a really well coached team, which is, again, that's not going to get enough credit that it needs to,
Right.
right, coming out of Minnesota. But I think on the flip side of this, you still have all your young pieces, right? You still have all of what's going on in Seattle. Like, you moved off of DK for sure. We'll talk about that, but like it's not a terrible situation. They got some picks. They made some moves here. Like, Gino kind of played his part, I want to say, for that franchise, and they moved on, as I think probably you should, because Gino wasn't like anything like outstanding special, right? Like, he's
See,
not.
that's what I thought too.
Yeah,
I
like,
thought he was
it's
just like we know what he is.
we know what he is. He's that
Yeah.
mid-level to kind of show you some shit each kind of week. Can shock you. He can also fall flat on his face. So it's kind of just that
Too
like,
inconsistent.
yeah, like where we had him 3-0 at the start, and then they lost 3 in a row, and then we were just kind of like,
Yeah.
what's Seattle about? And I think they know that too. So I think there's an element to Seattle that they're just a good. I like Seattle. I've always liked the Seahawks. I think they're just a good club. They've always had that culture behind it too. Obviously, when Pete Carroll left, that changed it a bit, but I think that team is moving in the right direction even still. And I think to get a 26, 27-year-old right now on a pretty decent contract as your quarterback for the next couple of years is probably a good thing. It would be really, really funny if Sam Darnold goes full pumpkin again and just kind of got paid and then just bounced. I'd find that funny. No one in Seattle would, but I would definitely find that funny.
Yeah.
But I think you still have the weapons. You're going into a draft. You got a couple more picks and stuff coming back. I think there's some opportunity here to kind of make some moves.
Well,
wait
a second. You just said they still have the weapons,
Yeah.
which I mean,
You don't think
It's
JSN's
just-
going to be solid? Or Kenneth Walker?
JSN's a great receiver, but that's what I mean. Like, I think right now they're looking at like no more DK Metcalf, no more Tyler Lockett.
Yeah.
It's just JSN.
Like Kenneth
Is
Walker
JSN
too. Like, I would say that he's still a solid.
no,
And
they're-
Zach
but-
Charbonnet. I think they still got solid pieces.
Yeah, RBs are
Yeah.
great, and I think that's what they're trying to do. Is what's the coach's name? Ben McDonald was just like, yeah, fuck this inconsistent Geno throwing bullshit.
Yeah.
We're getting back to let's run the ball effectively. Let's play good defense like that. He came from Baltimore. Like, I think he wants to run a more consistent style offense and not be so volatile. So I think they're going to get back to that. They'll probably work on building trenches and trying to get more from the defense overall. And then just, Sam Darnold can go in there and be like an efficient quarterback and not have to be asked to do so much, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
I think that's the big thing.
Do you think he
So-
was asked to do more in Minnesota? You think he was kind of like the foundation there? I'm
Well,
not sure if it was that or if it was
I don't
just.
think so.
I think they
I
just
don't
had a
think
really
so.
good team. I think they just.
I think
had,
he
like,
worked well in Minnesota, but
Yeah.
when it came down to it, like, I also they didn't have the run game either in those games. Like,
Yeah.
Aaron Jones, which they just re-signed.
Yeah.
I think he's a good running back, but I also think he lacks a lot of attributes that you need in the running game. Like, and when they got down, you can't just have Sam drop back and throw all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he needs to have the balance. You need to have that play action element. I think that was a big thing that made him successful. And I think Seattle's going to try and replicate that. I do expect them to take some offensive weapons in the draft for sure, especially based off, getting rid of DK. But DK was he was a volatile receiver.
Yeah.
He was boom, bust. They're looking for more consistency. JSN was great. I think he's going to be a great asset to have for fantasy football as well. He was solid last year. So that's kind of where I see them going with it. But, those were kind of some of the biggest, takeaways from free agency so far. What kind of stood out to you as some of the biggest, that's kind of under the radar move, or didn't see that coming kind of thing? Did anything stick out to you? There were some teams that haven't really been active. One was the New Orleans Saints, who I just will keep saying they're going to be ass again this year.
Yeah.
They have cap issues. They're not going to be able to do anything. Derek Carr is not a good quarterback, and they just haven't done anything to better this team overall.
Yeah, no, I think I was shocked. I understand that Miami has had some interesting things going on, but to have nothing go on so far was just the situation with Tyreek Hill as he was ending the season. The situation health-wise with Tua. The situation with Jalen Waddle's health. So and even their whole team is just a boom or bust situation. Seriously, I just played 4 players there, and Devin Achane is no different. And just think about that entire team, top down offensively, not even defensively, just offensively. And to see them not do anything and then go and do Zach Wilson, that's why I laughed. That's why I brought it up, because I was just hey, if nothing's gonna get you, going in the middle of the night, it's Zach Wilson. That's just something's gonna get me going in Miami. But yeah, this I was kind of just shocked more that some of these teams like that didn't attempt to do anything yet. And maybe there's just more to come. Maybe there's some trades on the horizon and we just don't know it yet.
Yeah, so let me ask you this then. Looking at the Dolphins, what do you want them to do? Where does this team suffer from? Because I don't think it's necessarily a lack of talent.
No.
Right? What would you want them to go out there and do in free agency in order to get better? What do they need to get better at?
I think, I don't know. It's such a tough team to kind of put a handle on. We even said it last year. They started making a move halfway through the season, or past halfway through, when they got Tua back. But then it was just kind of a constant pulse check on, are we alive right now? And are we actually going to move anywhere? And that's where it's tough to kind of gauge on what direction you need to take. We saw that, Mike, without the game plans of these players offensively, was kind of dormant. What do I do? What kind of schemes am I creating if I don't have these speedsters in my back pocket playing to their potential? So it's a tough situation all around. I quite frankly don't know what they need to acquire, because everything is there if it stays healthy, but there was a clear problem with some character situations and some other stuff that's happening that you have to move on from or figure out. Yeah.
How do you fix that? Because that's not just
you send Tyreek back to Kansas City and say, have a good day with Mr. Mahomes.
That's what I think Miami's thing is it's not you can't really look at it and go, okay, we need this guy. I think they have talented guys there.
And they do.
To me, it's just I think it's the locker room. It's the mindset of the coach. It's all of the intangible things. You need players that are more disciplined and more bought into something in that system.
Yeah, I feel these guys that's are so crazy, because I feel like they had it for a year. You know what I mean?
Because they were new, though.
Yeah, they were new. They were gelling. There was everything was wonderful. Yeah. They were putting up points out of I don't even know. They were on a tear there in the September of 22. Yeah. And I think that's where you go and say, oh shit, like this team has got something. They're believing. They're all about, Mike McDaniel. Like there's all these things that are happening. And then it kind of just like fell apart so aggressively last year, where it was just like, oh shit, what are we without this? Or what are we without that?
Yeah.
And just to try and replace that is obviously very tough. And they've inked it. And now you're like, oh shit, what direction? Right. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe Zach Wilson's the difference. Maybe he just sees a couple of these guys, out there.
I honestly think what's going to happen this year with the Dolphins is I always think like it's always trench play. Everyone can get better in the trenches regardless. I think offensive line, that's the biggest thing to allow their offense to do what they need to do. They're very skilled, they're very talented, but they're also very volatile. And when it comes down to like needing to get short yardage, or just needing to get yards and not just be this big boom team, I think that's where they need guys that are more reliant on those short down and distances, just the grind the football type of way down the field in certain situations. And then looking at like Tua, like this is going to be a big year for them, because I think if Tua has a lot of like in and outs again, I do think there's going to be them trying to pull out of that contract and then move on. I think Mike McDaniel's, he'll be fired, and they'll be starting to kind of turn that roster over. Tyreek will be gone. I do think this is a big make or break year for Miami for sure.
Interesting. I like that hot take.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, look at the way they've been playing. Like, just kind of laissez-faire, man. Like, they're not really a team you're afraid of.
Yeah, you could definitely see that they're, like, without those play calls and the creativity on what those players were, like, if you were to get, I feel like an Xavier Worthy or someone that was like super fast or like a speedster in the league, and that's obviously that situation's fucked. But like the other side of this is just like get someone fast that's buying into this system. I think the Jalen Waddle situation with the injuries and just kind of constantly going in and out of that doesn't help.
You have way too much of that on this team.
It's just broken all the time. It feels like I can never go in, especially as like a fantasy player. Like I have a chain, right? Like I would avoid all of those other guys. Like I don't even want to touch them, because I think that there's just so much potent risk in injury consistently. Like Tyreek Hill went 3rd overall in most drafts last year in PPR. Like, and understandably why, but there's just that element, older, like aged speedster. Like if this stuff doesn't come to fruition to his health, like where I was on the Aaron Rodgers situation, just because I didn't think the Jets could pull it off, because I think Aaron Rodgers was just, I didn't know what I was going to get. And we saw spikes of, Aaron Rodgers, and then we saw some consistent valleys. And that's the same thing I see with like the Tua situation. We just don't know what we're going to get for like 6 to 7 weeks of the year.
Yeah, I'm genuinely curious, and if you're a Miami Dolphins fan listening right now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on what you think the Dolphins need to do to improve their roster. I obviously don't watch as much Miami Dolphins football or pay attention to the little things as much, so I'd love to hear what your thoughts are, so you can throw that down in the chat for us, and we can play off that. But one of the surprising takes I had was taking a look at the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think that was a team that we both thought, had a little bit more surprise last season. That did not play out the way that we thought. They had a brutal year changing the coaching staff. They just got rid of Christian Kirk. Evan Ingram's gone. He wasn't kidding. New coach wasn't kidding, saying that the offense was going to run through Brian Thomas Jr. So far, that's kind of the play. And when I look at it, they haven't really done anything to
dial that back.
Flashy.
I need you to run the offense through Travis Etienne Jr.
No,
I
thank
paid
you.
way too fucking much for that guy.
Yeah, no shot. No shot. Yeah, you think isn't he a free agent?
He's coming.
I
think it was
swear
fifth option, right?
Did they pick up his option?
I'm not sure. Got to check on that. But it was his
they
option.
Must have picked up his option, his 5th-year option then. But he was brutal last year. Obviously, that being a big part of why they didn't have much success was the lack of a run game.
Yeah, went from 3rd in PPR to like fucking 43rd.
Yeah, just
even maybe
Oh,
worse than that. Like, geez.
irrelevant.
Yeah.
Absolutely irrelevant. And they haven't really done anything on the offensive side of the ball, just signed a bunch of backups so far. They got a couple guys on the offensive line, which, like I said, you're going to need to get better at the trenches. You got to protect Trevor Lawrence, and I know that was a big thing. He was, injured half the season, it felt like, last year too. So Jacksonville's kind of one I'm going to keep an eye on, seeing how they kind of get this offense going and what the plan is around that. But that one kind of stuck out to me. But overall, I mean, like, nothing crazy. Plenty of deals going on.
Yeah,
I guess the free agency thing.
The one big receiver one that we really we dipped our toes in, but we didn't really get into it was DK Metcalf.
Right.
What do you think this does for the Steelers? What do you think this does for the AFC North?
Well, I think like the big thing here was I looked at it. I'm like, DK's kind of the exact same receiver as Pickens, no?
Yeah.
So I was
all the
like,
crash out memes right
was
now.
like, what?
I'm dying at online. Just
yeah,
'cause,
not
like,
even from
this
like
guy's
a
gonna lose his shit.
personality
Pickens is
standpoint.
gonna lose his shit.
Yeah,
It's gonna be a wild sideline in Pittsburgh.
I just think of the Bash Brothers and Mighty Ducks when I think of those two now. But
Yeah.
they're like similar, like stretch the field,
Yeah.
big playmaker type guys. Like I don't know what the plan is, and now the word is that the front runner for quarterback is Aaron Rodgers. Kind of fucking bugging.
Yeah,
this
I
room
see
right
that.
now,
I was
flying
like,
around.
what is this? Yeah, it definitely warm weather outside coming
The
around.
bugs get in now.
Yeah.
But yeah, what are your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers potentially going to the Steelers? Because that is like, oh my god,
It's such a nothing deal to me. Like, that's just such a listen, he didn't have a bad year. Albeit said, like, he actually didn't have a terrible season last year. Like, he might have been fucking like, it's just like,
Shit.
oh, did he throw for? I think he still threw for 3,800 yards. Like,
yeah,
like
the team collectively was just
like,
ass.
collectively the team was ass. Like, it, as much as
To
we
be
made
fair-
jokes about Aaron Rodgers in that season, like, number one, coming back off the injury. Number two, 3,800 yards. I'm like 99% sure that happened. And then just like, he threw more picks than he ever has in his entire career, which was obviously the game difference where you're like, oh shit, he's definitely just not Aaron Rodgers that we know and love, right? Like, from a playing perspective. But that and an awesome Netflix documentary, if you want to get some insight into a guy's life, that's the one. Little plug there for Netflix. But yeah, like, I don't think, like, what's the difference here? Obviously, Justin Fields has gone to the Jets, so they don't have that. So, like, that, I look at this and go, I don't know, man. Steelers, like, it's gonna look funny. If he does do it, it's gonna look funny. It's just gonna look weird to me.
I don't know. Like, Steelers are just like kind of like picking a bunch of these fucking pieces and mashing it together and like, let's see what works. You know, I just don't know what the plan is. You got Najee who left in free agency, and the word is he might sign with the Chargers too.
Yeah.
So there goes a piece from their backfield. I know run game's a big thing with them.
I like that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, fantasy wise, that might be
you like
something.
that fantasy wise.
That might be something.
But like when I look at the Steelers, and I think obviously he's going to do better on that team because the team is just more consistent, well-rounded. They're gonna. And the big thing was they just had a dog shit offensive line last year for him too. Like, didn't help. But
we know that the one thing we know about this is Tomlin's like the guy. So like, there's gonna be none of that fucking like. If he goes there, it's either gonna be like one and done. Like, there's gonna be a clash real quick, or there's gonna be a respect level off the charts, and then it's just gonna be like, hey, I've been dealing with this for years and years, and I kind of respect it, right? And like, he hasn't necessarily, but in the last couple, right? So it'd just be interesting to see how that plays out. But I think I just don't think that Tomlin's going to put up with the bullshit. Like, I just don't think that that's going to be a thing that's going to be allowed.
What, you're not going to let him go on the Pat McAfee show and do his thing? And
that's the problem right now, right? Is like, you sign him, you sign all of him, you sign every bit of how he operates, and to his credit, he's him. Like, he's just that guy. He just wants to be himself and unapologetically. So you can't really blame someone for that. I respect it, but I think at the end of the day, like, as a team, you have to know what you're signing, and obviously that project is kind of potentially one and done, right? So we'll see.
Totally get that. Some other ones would be great, though, right? I didn't even get to this, but forgot because they didn't pop up today necessarily. Devontae Adams to the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
How do we feel about that? Because I actually love that.
I think that's a great
pickup.
deal. I think Devontae Adams got charted around here in the last few years, but didn't actually lose as much of a step as you probably think he might
No, I
have.
agree.
And I think if you break it down and even break down some plays, and there's some people on YouTube that you probably check out, we can even put some stuff together as well. But he has not really lost a step. He is still creating separation. This is one of the
Yeah.
best route runners of all time. Like, he knows how to make people think that he's doing something else and still makes things happen. So when it comes to that, plus we know what Maddie's about. So
Yep.
I think I love this. I think the whole situation with LA, like we were wondering what was going on there. Like, I think it's going to be a fun team to watch, even if it's just for
I do
another
too.
year. Like, even if it's just for a year, maybe two
Yeah.
at most, it's still going to be a fun team to watch. And I don't think we'll see. Well, like, it all comes down to when, another 6 months pass here, and the training and everything that kind of leads into that with Devontae. But the guy's an animal. The guy's a beast. Like, I
Yeah.
honestly like. A
He
lot of
was
work
still
ethic.
effective at the end of the
Yeah.
year with Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
there. Like he was
He
putting
was
up
effective
points.
in LA, like or Las Vegas. Like, he
Yeah.
still
He just
was.
had bad,
Yeah,
inconsistent quarterback
yeah.
play.
Just like if you still saw his receptions, you still saw his like average yards. Like, he was still doing his thing. So it's kind of crazy. Like, if you took out all the stuff that was happening near the tail, like, him and Brock Bowers were not far off on that team's lead in those
Yeah.
categories. So, like, this guy is still him. I hope he retains that kind of going into this upcoming season here, but it'll be fun and interesting to watch. I think that's just an awesome offense. It's gonna be a lot of fun if they stay healthy.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Yeah, I mean that's majority of the bulk ones. You touched on Justin Fields there quickly. I don't know if there's really much to say about that one. I don't know what the expectations are moving forward, but I mean, hey, him and Garrett Wilson running it back. They were college
Yeah, Ohio.
teammates together. Fields has really got to show that he can be a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Like, so we'll see. Jets taking another swing on an unknown quarterback here, and it's going to be a wild ride.
You know what, Justin? Unfortunately, you picked the worst team to try and have a revitalized career.
I
with.
agree.
Yeah.
Man, I really hope for you Jets
Yeah.
fans out there because, dude, I know what it's like. I'm going through it too, but fuck, are you guys ever going through it?
Yeah.
Holy man. I really hope you guys pull together and you have some success here in the next at
Could be
least
some
5
chemistry.
to 10
Could be
years.
a lot of fun. Like we just said, Ohio, right? Like, this could just be they needed to do something to bring, I think, Garrett back to, like, please don't, like, kind of levels. And I think that
so.
was the move to do it. We'll see how that plays out, but I think it's a smart call to make, just even if it's that, like, right? Like, just even if it's like go out and have some fun instead of, feeling, as serious as it has been over the last couple of years with, like, the expectations and just not maybe coming to that level. You have to kind of, like, if we look at this team as a whole, Aaron Rodgers propelled this team into, like, oh wow, this team is going to be fantastic. You pull that away from this team, and yes, you had Brees, and yes, you had Garrett, and yes, you have Sauce, and you have the pieces around the pie here. But, like, collectively, this team, if you compared it to any other young team in the league, I love that fly. If there's any other team in the league, you're probably not saying that they're on this, like, precipice of, like, wow, they should be a 12-win team like they were last year. Like, that was absurd, lofty expectations. Hammered the shit out of that under. It didn't make any sense. Like, the team wasn't outside of that ready, right? So I think you just kind of get that swinging in the right direction, go through a couple more years here, hit the prime with these guys at the right time, and hopefully have something behind at the helm to kind of build on it. But that's my take.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there. So, I mean, fuck, like, quarterback market is what the quarterback market is.
Yeah.
They can only do what's in front of them, right? The
You know
draft class
Darnold
is
wasn't
weak.
coming back.
Yeah, Darnold wasn't coming back. Not like you'd even want to go round 2 with Darnold anyway. Like, you just have limited options. You got nothing, so you got to ride it out. And I think, honestly, Justin Fields is probably the best guy you take a shot on here, right? Just see if you can get he's got there's guys on this Jets team that can play ball.
Oh, yeah.
Garrett Wilson, we already talked about. They have Breece Hall. Now fucking utilize Breece Hall is the next thing that
that's
needs
the
to
stock
happen.
that just went through
Get
the
that
fucking
going.
roof. Hopefully, if you look at the down year that was that, like that's a guy you should be keeping an eye on in fantasy leagues because they're gonna use him. They and if they don't, then sell that guy faster than I don't know what. Like because that is just a asset that's going to die. Like it's crazy. Like if they don't, if this isn't the like go to your fucking back, your multi-talented receiving rushing back, and use that as they did at different points of the year, not at the beginning because they were like, oh, Aaron Rodgers is going to throw 52 passes, going to make a lot of sense. No, like use your guys and make it make sense. Now you have a running dynamic quarterback, use that too. Like it could be huge. It could be awesome. Yeah.
I totally agree. But all right, before we end the segment off here, who's your winner? You got to give me so far day one of this. Isn't even like technically free agency. It's tampering period right now. But so far today, who's your day one winner from a overall team perspective based on the moves they made? And who's your loser on day one so far?
Ooh.
I get there's a couple losers out there.
All right, you go first, and
you want me to start this one off?
Yeah, you start this one off because I'm not sure.
I think the easy ones, I'll hit it here for you so you kind of have an idea.
Yeah.
So ideally, like the easy ones, winners, you can look at Chicago Bears, you can look at Washington Commanders.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go under the radar with the New England Patriots, actually, a team that we didn't really touch on too much.
Yeah.
A lot of big moves they did here. Nothing like super sexy, but that defensive side of the ball, Vrabel came in here and he's like, nah.
Yeah.
We're not getting fucking pushed around.
Yeah.
We're going to go get some boys who can play ball on the defensive side of the ball. And they brought in Harold Landry, edge, who he's familiar with from Tennessee.
Yeah.
Big deal with Milton Williams, the defensive lineman. He was one of like the top free agent guys. I wanted the Bengals to get him, obviously.
Yeah.
He's going to the Patriots. They got Robert Spillane, linebacker from the Raiders, and then Carlton Davis as well. And they got the offensive tackle Morgan Moses as well. Like, they've made some really good moves here to shore this team up, and I think they're going to add to that offense through the draft. So when I look at the Patriots, I'm like, man, you know what? Day one, they did a lot here to really make this roster a lot more complete. So that's kind of my winner from day one. And then my loser, I mean, it's easy to go with, like, Cleveland Browns, guys like that. See, like, you look at the Colts haven't really done anything. They signed Trevarius Ward. That's great. Got a corner, but feel like the Colts need a lot more. I could also say my Bengals because they haven't fucking signed contracts for these receivers or got any of that shit done. So it's tough there. But my loser is going to be the Dallas Cowboys.
I'm right on the Dallas Cowboys. I'm right on the Dallas Cowboys.
I think the first signing I saw, and they might have saved themselves here at the end of the night by signing Javonte Williams to a 1 year, which I do think that's a great pickup for the value.
It's a good move.
1 year, $3 million deal. Javonte's got a lot of potential.
Yeah.
He's a dual threat back.
Yep.
He has a lot of capabilities. Maybe another year off the injury. Like, who knows what he could be on a dynamic team like Dallas. I like that pickup, but beyond that, they haven't really done anything to move the needle again. And Dallas, they need to get better.
Yeah.
They haven't signed Micah Parsons. I don't know what they're doing with him. I don't know. Dallas is they're going to be my day one losers for sure.
No, I so funny. I'm going through it. I'm reading through. I'm going, I think I'm going to go with Dallas. And to those reasons, I actually agree with the Javonte Williams take. I think that's a player that we had a little spike of greatness and then got hurt. So you never know what that's going to come back around to. Like we just saw with J.K. Dobbins, sometimes these things just kind of go about their way and then come around just when you need it. So could be a big move, but just nothing else really moved the needle on Dallas's front. Obviously, we've made jokes about like the teams that really haven't done anything that probably should do things, but we also got into why potentially that is. But for winners, I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills. And the reason I'm going to go with the Buffalo Bills is
no bias whatsoever.
Because they signed exactly who they needed to, and they also extended exactly who they needed to. on a
Mr.
big
Josh
day
Allen.
with Mr. Josh Allen. So I think that that's honestly the biggest win. Also just locked up Greg Russo. I think these are some good moves. Linebacker as well, like with Terrell Bernard. Like, I think you have to make these moves. You have to maintain yourself. We had a lot of talk about Buffalo last season, about what Buffalo was. And, Khalil Shakir getting signed with the extension, like Josh Palmer signed. Like, these are good players, good receivers, good assets to just kind of pull what Josh Allen did last year and just maintain that. Again, like these stud players that you have in like Stefan Diggs, we long talked about that before on the podcast of like, that's something that not necessarily is good for Josh Allen, because then it was like plays were just getting forced that way. So to have multiple key receivers like come in and I think Josh Palmer's a wicked player to add.
I was gonna say underrated pickup there.
So between
Canadian
that
as well.
Canadian,
Shout out Josh Palmer.
Absolutely. And I think Josh Allen, right? Like, how can you go wrong with that deal? What a year for this guy. Yeah. Like, that's just solid year. And I don't know what the number is or why that is the case right now in the NFL, but the 55, like, just seems to be like, hey, you're going to sign your quarterback? Yeah, just $55 million. You just got to sign for 55. It's
kind of the going rate.
Going rate. Yeah. Like, we just have a market price right now for quarterbacks that are elite. It's $55 million.
That's good.
Unless you're Trevor Lawrence, then I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. That's like, with that set, I think the quarterback contract I'm most curious to see is like Brock Purdy. So when we get to that point, that'll be good to talk about.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. Buffalo definitely signing the guys that they need for sure. Be interesting to see outside of the box who they go for now, after kind of re-signing some of the guys that were big in-house players and then some of these additions as well. But who's your loser, bud?
I'm not gonna move that needle. It's Dallas.
It's Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm also on the same train. I was gonna rip you one and say the Bengals, but that's just
I would have said Bengals too, man. Because it's been pretty.
I'm leaning there because of just the like money management and the embarrassment that's come with that.
It's very
but like,
embarrassing.
I think they're also. It's so weird. They're such like a money ball team. Like they just like they try to like be smart and like very creative with their money and their assets and their different things. And I feel like it's just biting them in the ass consistently year over year.
Yeah, it is.
And it's been like that for a long time. So it's just unfortunate to see. Like T. Higgins, I was joking. Like there was that one thing going around, the one meme, and I was gonna post it like just because it made so much sense. We'll get back on the meme train soon because there's some football great shit going on right now. But the like Rock and John Cena like turning on Cody Rhodes in the WWE, and I was dying. I was like, yeah, that's exactly how Bengals fans feel right now. It's like Duke Tobin going up to like T. Higgins and yeah, we're all good. We're gonna sign you long term and smoke him with the fucking shot to the crotch. Like that's just how it feels right now, and just
honestly,
franchise tag.
We're in an absolute spiral right now. Like all of Bengals Twitter or X, whatever, is in shambles. We truly are. We're like, wow, you really know how to piss off a fan base right now, because it's hectic. But I mean, like, fuck, you put yourself in this situation. It is what it is. We'll see how this plays out. I still do think they're going to sign both guys, but the problem is, like, what are you doing to make the team better beyond that? Like, we have a great offense, but like, what's moving the needle on the other side of things? So we're gonna have to wait to see. But great start to free agency. It was a good day. Let's see, what keeps going on the rest of the week. We'll be back on the next pod. We'll start talking more stuff, get into more implications based on fantasy, and how that affects, what we're going to see this year from a fantasy side of things. Like, I know me and Chappie over here want to dive into some of that stuff, so we'll get that going. But yeah, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Chappie, you got any parting words for everybody?
Hey, hit that bell. Helps the show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, please. Helps us out big time. So if you could like, subscribe. We appreciate that, guys. It's the Chappie and Bengals podcast. Catch you guys on the next one.
Easy.